Calling the hearing. Once again, it's welcome change to be able to talk about a funding increase rather than to try to figure out what to do with less money. First off, Admiral Zumkov, thank you so very much for your service. You've been a pleasure to work with over this period of time, and the Coast Guard in the recent hurricanes performed admirably, way beyond expectation. Well, not beyond our expectations, but in a very, very difficult environment. And we know that has to do a lot with the command structure, and I know that you're at the top of that. So thank you so very much. I also see that Mr. Cantrell, you are also going to retire. I want to thank you for your service, and I'm sure that all of the men and women in the Coast Guard appreciate what you have been able to accomplish representing them so well in your position as well as before this committee. I guess we'll look forward to Admiral Schultz and see how he bears up under our severe questioning. I'm sure he'll do very, very well with it, and I know that he has a significant person to follow. Now, back to the budgets. It's not just about the numbers, but it's really how they all fit together. We have much better numbers to work with. That's not my concern. Moreover, the real problem with this budget is, does it represent a change in which we can look forward to the future with wholesome full budgets, or is it just an anomaly and we'll go back to where we've been over the last several years, and that's trying to figure out how to do more with less? Last year's budget, by example, requested the Coast Guard be cut by 14%. This year, we're looking at an 11% increase. Well, we think that's a significant improvement, but what about the years in the future? It's my hope that among the options, we're going to see increased budgets for the Coast Guard. I note that the President's talking about his wonderful, beautiful border wall. I think he said $18 billion, probably closer to twice that, but nonetheless, if you want to stop the drugs, as he apparently wants to do, better to spend that money on the Coast Guard, where you have an extraordinary record. Tariffs, interesting. The President unilaterally imposed tariffs last week on steel and aluminum, but in his budget, he proposes not to use that newfound opportunity for the American steel industry to build ships, but rather for MARAD to go out and purchase a couple of used hulls and to somehow repurpose those for the academies. But what happened to the multi-service vessels that were authorized in the budget? I'm going to ask you, Admiral Busby, about that. We think that we had a pretty good plan, and we're not interested in buying a bunch of foreign ships for the maritime academies, but rather to make them in America. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to find out where you're coming from today. Additionally, the Title 11 Maritime Loan Guarantee Program seems to have been zeroed out. So what does that mean for our ships that we need to build for the recycling program and for the maritime highway, or the marine highway program? All of this makes very little sense. We need to put together a budget that actually meets all of the needs and not cuts inappropriately. So while the top line looks good, you get into the details and we have problems. We're going to get into that in detail. I yield back.
Thank the ranking